Well, hello everybody. This is your girl Cesare, aka the pretty producer, aka the singing scholar, and I am live. It's been such a long time, but I'm excited to be back, and I really hope that all of you are doing well out there. I definitely wanted to make sure that I start timely, so let me start to share my things, and then we're going to get started. So join me, and of course those of you who are going to watch the replay, do it. So give me 1 second as I begin to do my sharing. Alright, got one more place to share. Okay, let's see. Alright, so we're going to get started in just 1 minute. Okay, so I think I am done. And those of you who are on my email list, you likely got an email. So let's just get right into it. I'm not going to be on long because it has been such a busy yet exciting day. But welcome to the Speak Life Inspirational Line. I am back after some time. It's been maybe a couple of I think it's been like a month and some change or something like that, but I am thankful to be back, like I said. And so tonight I definitely just want to give a rundown of some things to expect throughout this month and some of the things that we're going to talk about. I have heard from many of you through different channels, whether it was through like email, inboxes on social media, text messaging, WhatsApp, all these different channels, and so your feedback has been so deeply appreciated. So just a brief kind of rewind, because I know that some of you are pretty new. Speak Life is basically, we talk for about an hour, a little under an hour, sometimes 40 minutes, 35 minutes, it just depends, but really just we're talking about real life topics from a down-to-earth perspective, because at the end of the day we do share a lot of common things. And, I personally believe, especially as a believer in Jesus Christ, that, we truly can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. So the purpose of Speak Life is really for you to learn how to speak life into your situation, so you can understand that you don't have to be stuck in a certain type of position or a certain mindset if you expect to thrive, if you expect to go to the next level. So I've been doing this for some time now, and it has been, like I said, a wonderful journey, and I've gotten a lot of feedback, from it. And so I want all of you, especially if you're new, you can feel free to go on YouTube and watch some of my older episodes. So like I said, tonight is really just a brief rundown with some encouragement. And a lot of you know that it is December, so this is a very special month, as you probably already heard and probably know. And it's my birthday month, so I'm very excited, and I want to be able to share a lot of things that I have learned, a lot of experiences, testimonies, lessons, and even, just hearing about your things. And so what I have been doing over the last 10 years is that I actually was able to start to bring it online. There were times back in the day where I used to have a lot of gatherings, so I had a lot of people that would join me, and everybody just had a good time, just to to minimize the description, and what people were getting from it was understanding that, you know, you can celebrate outside of yourself. You can celebrate with others. So I will never be stuck again. Thank you, Cesare Brown. Hello there. Happy birthday. Thank you. So I do expect to hear that quite a few times. So, but I receive it and thank you. And I'm glad. Yes, we are not to be stuck. And so that has been the purpose of me having like the birthday gatherings and, you know, being able to share things online and being able to actually spend my birthday in different countries, which has been really exciting. And I have seen that, you know, sometimes when you can share counsel, if you can share the joy that God has given you with others, it makes a huge difference. So I look at this month, like I said, it's not just about me, but where, you know, it's like, hey, can I encourage someone? Can I help someone see something from a different perspective? Can I help someone, you know, see that maybe we have some similar thoughts, or we have some similar seasons that we are experiencing, etc. So that's just like a bit of the background with that. And so I always choose a theme, and this theme is kind of tied into tonight's topic, and I'm going to expound on that a little bit. And the theme for this year is stay on the wall. Stay on the wall. And this is, you know, it's an example from the book of Nehemiah that's in the Bible, and how Nehemiah was on the wall. And I'm not going to go like into too many details, but basically when it comes to staying on the wall, that means that you're staying on a certain post, you're staying on a certain direction in life, you are staying on a certain season, or maybe a current project, or something that you are currently working on, something that you are currently being committed to. Really, this commitment has a lot to do with being committed to purpose, being committed to the purpose that God has put on your life. So for me, when I thought carefully about this particular theme, I thought about, you know, like, where am I positioned in life? And what does it take to stay in that position? And what it takes is really to stay on the wall, meaning that you don't have time for distractions. And I think I wrote this out the other day. You don't have time to, you know, kind of dumb down, or, you know, you're trying to fit in when you indeed stand out. So staying on the wall has a lot to do with having like a certain level of concentration. It's a certain level of, you know, really having excitement too. I mean, if you only knew some of the things that God has planned for you, you would be excited. You would be excited to move forward and to live forward, and really not even to look back. You know, now I'll be honest, some of us, we tend to look to the side sometimes. You know, we do reminisce on some things, and, you know, we get a little nostalgic and all of these different feelings sometimes. But when things are new and when things are in progress, when you're on that wall, when you're being able to stay focused, you really, really would recognize after a while that maybe some things did serve a decent purpose back in the day, and that's all good. But at this stage, being on the wall for greater purpose has its benefits. So this theme, I want you all to really join me over the next 30 days or 20, whatever days is left. And I want you to just kind of tune in to like you know, we will do our videos every week for Speak Life. And then I'll be posting some of my reflections, and I want you to participate. Now, I know that some of you, and this happens practically every year, a lot of people are not the most comfortable talking about personal things in public, and I totally understand that. But hey, listen, if you want to share your testimonies or share like a response to one of my posts across social media, you want to inbox me, I'm okay with that. It's really not a big deal. So really, like I said, you know, take it from a simplistic standpoint right now. What it means to stay on the wall is really to stay focused, to stay into a certain momentum that doesn't allow people or things or situations or world events, because, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now. You know, aside from this being a very, you know, eventful, like festive type of month, depending on what you celebrate, what you believe in, and all that stuff, there is also a lot of things that are going on in the world. So in order for you to really stay focused, to stay on the wall, I'm not saying that you should live in some sort of bubble where you're ignoring matters in the world, but I am saying that not everything is your business. Not everything is your responsibility. So I want you to really be able to filter out, what doesn't matter, filter out distractions. And let's be honest, I think a lot of people can relate that when it gets later and later into the year and we're going into a new year, there are always people that tend to pop up, from the past or maybe from, the beginning of the year, and the list can go on. And if there are people that are attempting to pop up and they don't really have, you can just see that they don't have a certain type of focus. You can see that they maybe don't have the same type of value, value perspective when it comes to having friendships or connections or business partnerships, etc. And if some people cannot see that from a certain perspective, you're not obligated. You're not obligated to commit and even, entertain it. So sometimes you do have to stay up. And another thing I wanted to say tonight, and this may come off a little different for some people, but the truth of the matter is that when you stay up on the wall, when you stay focused, when you're really pressing towards greater heights, where you are, pursuing purpose, you're actually busy with things, for you to stay up, a lot of people will get low. And what I mean by get low, I'm not talking about like from a, like a condescending type of way, but low in character, low in attitude, low, where people are borderline hating. It's the truth. People do hate, and so you have people that get real low-minded when you stay up. And so you have to be prepared that sometimes when you are actually in that core element of being focused on the things that God has called you to be focused on, you have to expect that some people are not going to be okay with that. That is just a part of life. That's even a part of the new year, because every time the new year rolls around, there are people, like I said, that pop up. There are people who are probably looking and trying to, maybe make comparisons and maybe even size you up sometimes. And so I'm not saying these things to kind of like, encourage you out there to get all, boastful and think, get gassed up in the head and think like, yeah, well, it's all about me. No, what I'm saying is that even in the midst of you staying on a wall, even in the midst of you staying focused, humility is still important. You still have to stay humble, but at the same time, be aware. So like, that's what I mean. Like, be aware when people start acting low or getting low, be aware. But you don't have to get, nasty about it. You don't have to be pious about it. You don't have to even entertain certain things. Some people like drama, but I'm not into that. And I don't ever encourage people to get involved, because that's also a form of distraction. That's what's going to have you come down from your wall. If you're worried about, like I said, he said, she said, all these different things. So that is really like what is the core focus of this particular theme for this year. And I also am going to give out some, I have some giveaways that I'm going to talk about next week. And those giveaways will be mentioned. And I want you to, like I said, participate, because participation really means something. I'm hinting at something for a reason. So the more you participate, the more likely you can be involved in getting certain types of giveaways. But just kind of going back with the staying on the wall, I just encourage you, because a lot of people don't think beyond a certain point. Some people don't even think beyond tomorrow. Some people don't think beyond today. And yes, I do agree, and I do understand that tomorrow is not promised. But at the same time, if you don't really have a plan of any sort, or if you're not really thinking towards, some form of longevity in life, it's going to, kind of keep you in a mindset. You know how like some people, they have a saying where they live like paycheck by paycheck, and it's the same thing with like your, purpose and focus in life. Sometimes you're kind of living just by the day, not really maximizing, the day. So when it gets towards the end of the year, some people do have plans, some people don't. But I would encourage you to, have flexible planning. What is flexible planning? Flexible planning is really, because I'm really talking from a perspective of really believing that you can do all things through Christ. Have that flexible planning where allow him to lead you to where you're going to be in the future. He has a plan for you. So be flexible in a sense where if something changes or something turns, because usually when something turns, it's for the better. And sometimes we have to be in that mindset to embrace that. So I suggest, like, when you're on the wall and when you're focusing, you'll be able to have more clarity for that. You'll be able to really understand that, hey, you know what, I do have value. I do have a certain purpose in life. And so last year's theme was actually pioneering for his purpose or pioneering for her purpose. And I talked a lot about getting into that position to understand, why are you here? Why were you born? What do you do that's so seamless, that's natural? These are things to think about. And when you think about these things, this is how you get to that point where you decide to say, okay, now that I'm aware, I'm going to stay focused and I'm going to stay on the wall. So that's kind of like the connecting pieces here about really beginning to understand purpose, so therefore you can stay focused and you can stay up on that wall. So I really hope that that encourages you tonight to really understand that this is such a beautiful time to shift your focus. This is such a beautiful time to, allow old habits. I know it's easier said than done, but this has been the purpose of talking about certain things, a part of Speak Life. I know for a fact that it helps because I see it in my own life and I see it in other people's lives that I have been able to, speak to and to connect with and to hear their personal testimonies. And like I said, when you get into that position to begin to understand about that value that you have, you will have a certain focus point where you can actually come out of old habits. Old habits are usually what keeps people stagnant. You know how some people say, like, oh, if you keep doing the same thing over and over, same exact way, but you're expecting a different result, it's actually considered insanity. Well, technically, yeah, it is. So it's like, after a while, are you going to recognize to do something different? Or are you going to, even sometimes receive some constructive criticism? I think that's one of my favorite topics that I've been talking about a lot offline and online. And I noticed that when it comes to constructive criticism, this is another thing too that will help you stay on the wall. Because if someone cares enough to sharpen you, you will take that particular advice as something positive. You would understand that it's for your advantage, especially if someone is really looking out for you for the better. And, a lot of the times when someone tells us something, we were on defense all day. We're like, wait, hold up. What you mean? But at the same time, sometimes some people mean well. Sometimes it comes from sources we don't want to hear it from, but it helps. And so that's something that has helped me to really just steer clear of unnecessary distractions. Please understand that life will always come with distractions. It's a part of the package. But you do have a choice. This is why we were given free will. You have a choice to decide if you're going to stay on your assignment. You have a choice to decide if you're going to come off of your assignment. It's a choice. So I want to, for the rest of this month, be able to influence someone out there to just stay there, just to get it together. It's never too late. Once you have an opportunity and you're living, it's never too late. So I want you to be reminded of that. And like I said, as we go day by day, there are some things that, maybe you might read and you're like, oh, I don't really get that. And that's fine. It's okay. But if, over time, I'm almost positive by the end of the month, you'll be able to really understand and see things from a different perspective when it comes to staying on the wall. So that's one of the major things that we're going to cover basically throughout the whole month. And I also want to encourage you because, like I said, now we have another part of this month where a lot of people are preparing for the new year. So I'm not necessarily talking about from a celebration perspective, but just more so about, this is a good time. If you haven't done it, throughout the rest of the year so far, it's okay. It's never too late. But this is a good time to really consider where do you see yourself next year? I know it's a very broad and very open type of question. It's not something that will necessarily be answered immediately, but it's something to think about. Because have you ever noticed, and this is just a real deal question, where you can say something, you can dream up something, and next thing you know, you look up, it's 5 years later, you're still in the same position, and you're like, man, what happened? I thought about this. And so this is linked to what I mean about staying on the wall. And if you stay on the wall and you, like I said, you begin to really focus, sharpen your focus on what that purpose looks like to you, after a while, you will recognize that you can apply action to that. It's a biblical principle that faith without works is dead. So if you don't have the works, the action, I mean, you can see yourself somewhere and that's fine. But if you're not applying, action to that, if you're not staying focused to get to that point, that's all it is. It's just a dream. It's just something that's, kind of like hopeless faith, if that's even a term that I can use. And so you want to really strongly consider that. You don't have to do it every year, but I do say, especially for this year, I just feel like this year is very concentrated when it comes to purpose. Like I said much earlier, we're not going to focus on like world events and things of that sort. And I'm not also saying for you to be so oblivious to what's going on in the world, but world events and your purpose are 9 times out of 10 indirectly related. Unless, of course, you are directly supposed to do something about certain situations, so be it, fine. But if that is not aligned with what you're called to do, don't get distracted. Don't come off the wall. Do not come off the wall. Because a lot of things are designed to get you off the wall. A lot of things are designed to implement fear into people. So I'm not only just talking about world events, but I'm also talking about opinions of people. So when you get to a point, as I mentioned earlier, when you are like on the wall and you're focused, especially when it comes to purpose, sometimes people will speak from their own experience, and that experience is not always the most positive. So sometimes people will, and some people are saying things in a truthful manner. And the reason why I stay very neutral about some things is because sometimes you got to understand the other side. And sometimes people are not just necessarily wanting to hate on you or wanting to tear you down, but some people are just so boggled down by doubt, fear. And like I mentioned, when you don't have those works that are tied with faith. So whatever it is that, someone has planted inside of their minds and their heart and their spirit, man, it's going to come out. So you don't have to align your outcome with somebody else's previous experience. So I also want to make that clear, especially as we focus through that this month, where we're getting focused, because some of you may not be on your wall right now. You may not be at that point of true focus. It's okay, because guess what? We all have to learn from somewhere. We all have to begin from somewhere. And that's another thing too. When you do get on your wall of purpose, your wall of focus, you don't want to be prideful about it. There's no competition when it comes to your own purpose that God has given you. I want you to remember that. Yes, there's competition when it comes to just basic logistics in the world, business and those type of things. But when it comes to your unique calling, your purpose, whatever that is, there is no competition. And when you begin to even recognize that, you're not so quick to be so prideful and condescending towards others purposely. So, because at the end of the day too, when you become focused and you become just, you stay more on that wall and you are sincere about it, it increases your character in such a way where, you may come across people who may be doubtful, who may be fearful, who may be, maybe a little nasty, because that's just how they've been, for a certain period of time in their lives. But, you'll be able to turn that around with a soft answer. And that's also in the Bible too, when a soft answer turns away wrath. So there's this really big connection when it comes to character and staying on the wall. So the more you stay on that wall of focus, the more you stay on that wall of purpose, my prayer to those of you that are listening, you'll be able to really understand that it will influence your character in a better way. I do want to say this too, and this is also in the Bible. You know that it's in, I believe it's in 2 Timothy, and, you know, it talks about how, you know, we are definitely in that particular time period, and, you know, we're progressing more towards it even, you know, now, where people are cold. You know, the love is waxing cold. People are just lovers of themselves. You know, there's a lot of people who are turning against each other, family member against family member, you know, and the list goes on. And that is something that's happening. But at the end of the day, like I said about this whole character refinement, when you're staying on the wall, if you live by example, no, you will not be able to change the whole world. You're not going to get everybody on board to be nice, or to have the fruit of the Spirit, to be kind, and, you know, to have self-control and things of that sort. But there are people who will be able to watch your example. This is another reason why you don't want to come down off your wall, because you really don't know who's watching. I know that we have a lot of different, you know, technology and all these different things that are happening all over at the same exact time. And so some people are thinking like, well, this is so much going on in the world, you know, nobody's paying attention to me. But you just never know. It can be in your community. It can be through your social media. It can be through your school, through your job. It can be through you passing by someone on the bus stop, you know, by the bus stop, or whatever have you. And I'm using these examples for a reason, because sometimes we underestimate the value that we have. We underestimate that when we're focused on a certain purpose, you really don't know who's behind you looking, especially if it's from like a younger generation, or it can be a generation ahead of you, because guess what? We can all learn from each other. So with that being said, don't forget that there are people who do watch you. Don't forget that there is something unique about what you bring to the table that others may see. And, you know, yes, some people like to emulate people to the T, which I don't recommend. But sometimes when you set a trend, you know, a good trend that is, or if you're setting a certain type of example, you would be surprised that what type of result that can, you know, bring from someone who has been looking at you, who has been watching your, you know, your actions, or maybe they aspire to be just like you. I don't know. Maybe you're a CEO. Maybe you're, you know, a really meticulous, you know, very, very well, I'm trying to think of something here, like just a, you know, very, very good manager. You know how to manage things, keep things under control. You just never know who's watching. So that's another reason, like I said, to just stay on the wall and also be humble at the same time, because, you know, we are living in a time where we have younger generations that are coming up, and when they see people who are just like nasty in character and just not really, you know, about a certain way of life, you can understand why some people may you know, be lost, so to speak, or they may just feel like, well, that's just the way it is, when sometimes that's not the way it is. So even though, like I said, you know, the Bible tells us that the world will continue to grow cold in many cases, I do want to remind you too, but you are also the light of the world. Those of you who really understand that God has put his image, or made you in his image, he's breathed his life into you. So just because the world may be going in a certain direction, it doesn't mean that you weren't sent here for this particular season for a reason. So that's another key thing to keep in mind, that when you are on the wall and you have that light that's shining, do expect people, yes, they're going to wonder, they're going to look and see, well, you know, what is that about? And, you know, and this is where I do talk just a little further when it comes to, you know, that character of Christ. So, you know, I know, like I said, we got the social media and all these different things, and we've got, you know, certain definitions of what it means to be great, or what it means to, you know, really shine, so to speak. Because I'll be very honest with a lot of you. I believe, this is my opinion, but I believe the world is just kind of like hijacking a little too hard on certain terms and not really understanding the depth, D-E-P-T-H, of those terms. I'm hearing a lot of people lately talk about glow up. You know, oh, I got to get my glow. And if people would really recognize that you carry far, far more than just a glow. You carry far more than just a vibe. You carry far more than just energy, you know, and I'm touching on this for a reason. And when you begin to recognize that the light that's truly in you surpasses all of that, that's what's going to truly hold you, you know, through all types of events and things, even things that you can't see. So I say this to say that, you know, when you even begin to understand the depth of what you carry, that also changes your perspective, and it also shifts what you focus on. You know, we have things that we focus on that's from a, you know, tangible perspective, physical perspective. You know, we keep up with ourselves and all of that, and I think we should. We definitely should. But the inside, so while you're up on the wall, I hope that your insides are changing too, that you're transforming from the inside out, so that other people can see that too. And it's not to show it to other people necessarily, but like I said, you know, if you think about purpose, and I've said this quite a few times in my previous videos, purpose always involves people, you know, so that's why it's not always going to be just about you. If you think about it, what did Jesus do? He had a purpose for all of us, you know, and you can look at practically, I'm sure you can look at certain pieces of your life and see that there were certain influences and changes that happened because you were connected to certain people. So because of that, yes, shine your light. Shine your light. You know, understand that you are, like I said, much more worth than a vibe, okay? We weren't created here just to spread good vibes and stuff like that. We were here to spread really the gospel, but really to be an example. So I hope that this particular Speak Life will encourage you. This is part 1 of my birthday special, my birthday month special. So like I said, we're going to really talk more about that throughout the rest of the month. And look out for my posts. I will be posting daily on both of my Facebook. I have 3 Facebook pages actually, and I'll post all of this stuff inside of the comments, and so you can all see it. And I am on other social media. So I'm going to wrap up now, but I'm going to just say a couple of more announcements, so you just keep in mind. Once again, giveaways will start next week for my birthday. So I will let you know what those things will consist of and what you need to do. I'm really just looking for participation. Participation, it's not for me. The participation, as I have heard from people, and I've heard this like verbatim from email, calls and stuff like that, and even strangers from all over the world and even in YouTube, that, you know, people were just like amazed about how they can hear themselves speak about certain experiences, and they were amazed to be able to remember certain testimonies, or maybe learn a new lesson that they never learned before. So for me, this is like my gift to you, so you can think about some experiences and maybe you can come into the new year with a different perspective. So that's really like the purpose of the reflection part of the birthday celebration. So therefore you can reflect, and you can reflect in your own privacy. You don't even have to tell me, like I don't have to necessarily know. Of course I would like to know, but if you don't want to tell me, it's okay. But I want you to know it for yourself. That's the most important thing. I believe that 2022, I know a lot of people say this all the time, like it's cliche, oh, this is my year and all that, but I do believe that this is a lot of people's year. It's because we are really in such a unique, we're in such a unique season where things, like I said, are just going on. There's a lot of stuff going on, but you're so special to be here during this time. So, like I said, don't forget that. So before I exit, I always want to, you know, extend an invitation to those of you who may not know Christ. I know a lot of you have probably heard me, because I know people from all different walks of life, and you probably heard me talk about God a few times, and you're wondering like, well, you know, who's God? Or, you know, oh, well, God hasn't done anything for me. Or some people are just curious and they just don't really know anything about, you know, spirituality when it comes to Christ. I want to invite you to know him for yourself. I am a living example, and I am so thankful to be one of his vessels, to be able to share, you know, what he's done for me. And I know that we live in a time where there's so many different ideologies. There's so many different belief systems. But I know by the fruit of my life. What does the fruit mean? The fruit basically is like the fruition of the things that has happened in my life, of how I'm able to, articulate certain things and to be around certain people, to be blessings to others, and how others have blessed me. So God shows himself in different ways. So I just want you, like I said, I'm extending the invitation. All you have to do really is just to believe in your heart. It's not complicated at all. You don't need to buy up a ton of self-help books, or, you don't have to watch a ton of workshop hours of, a certain program. Literally believe with your heart. And what we're going to do, we're just going to say this very short prayer so that you can invite Jesus into your life. And so I want you to repeat after me. And if you can get into a place where it's quiet, or if you're watching a replay, you can pause this and find a place where it's quiet. But it's a very short prayer, and just repeat after me. Dear Lord, I acknowledge that you, Jesus, are the Son of God. I believe that you died on the cross, that your blood was shed for my sins, and that you arose from the grave and conquered death. I understand that I was born a sinner and that I have sinned by disobeying your commandments. I ask you to forgive me for these sins. Please change my heart to be like yours, loving and full of forgiveness. Help me to obey your teachings as recorded in the Bible. Bring people who can help me on this new path. Be my Savior. Be my Lord. Thank you for saving me from death and giving me new life. Amen. So if you said that prayer, that means that you have sealed your soul with Jesus Christ. And it may seem like, what does that mean to some people? All I can say is that if you said this with a believing heart, allow him to do the work. Allow him to show himself to you. And I do recommend, and I usually leave a link where you can order a hard copy Bible, or you can use your phone. You can download a mobile app, or you can go on your desktop computer. You can look up the Bible if you want, or you can inbox me if you need any kind of like help and stuff like that. But yes, congratulations if you said that prayer. So I do thank you all for joining for this week's Speak Life Inspirational Line. I am Cesare, aka the Pretty Producer, aka the Singing Scholar. So yes, look forward to all of the posts that are going to be throughout this birthday month. And I hope that you all have an excellent day no matter where you are in the world, okay? Bye now.